Back again, guys, for an episode. Thank you for listening to the other ones. Hope they're getting plenty of information for all you to get stuck into and start working into your lifestyles. Today, me and Ben are going to go over nutrition habits, process of food, and everything all to do with
nutrition.
Yeah, to get away from, I think, the big word, the diet, shall we say.
Yeah.
The diet that sets the life, I think, a lot of people up to fail.
Oh, when you think about nutrition, you first mind is like, I need to go on a diet plan, or I need to, get macros and weigh and measure everything. And we're not saying that's wrong, for sure, because it's a great way to notice what you're eating and like tracking what you eat for a day or a handful of days is really good to bring some understanding. But what we're looking at is a little bit more sustainable, kind of lifetime long approach to looking at nutrition. And we will do one solely on kind of like macros and how to plan everything, because you've like from your bodybuilding days,
and that's the thing, when you go into nutrition it can spiral into so many areas, and I think that's what people get lost with all the different types of diets that get thrown at you and everything. And it comes down to just basics again, just like with your training. When you're doing lifting or gymnastics, you start with the basics. Nutrition is exactly the same, and it gets so lost out there now with so many different ways. It's just basics,
because I don't think unless you're like a professional or you've really got the mindset to track and measure and weigh every day, it's not sustainable. Like I could presume the diet you were on in your bodybuilding days was something you wouldn't do all year round. You only did it for...
Well, yeah, it gets pretty intense. Like now you see bodybuilding days now, from bulking to cutting. You've seen it change quite a lot. Now you see a lot of bodybuilders stay fairly lean even on their bulk now. So the myth of just piling it all on, I think one of the biggest bodybuilders I probably see who used to go fucking ginormous was Lee Priest. If you haven't seen him, he was phenomenal, a genetic phenomenal guy, hard-working guy. I think he's Australian, but he used to bulk, and when he bulked, it was like mega load, and then he would cut, and then it'd be insane. And then you can look at fighters as well. Another fighter, I'd say you could look at out in their outer season when they weren't prepping or in fight camp, was Ricky Hatton. He used to put on so much weight. And then he'd have to put so much work in. And now I think those days of going, that's real hard work, going from here to here, and going from such a heavyweight to such a lightweight is probably not really that healthy for the body as well.
Oh, and that cut is not an enjoyable experience.
No, it's not, and then you'd be sort of like already going, I've got to get into a diet and cut. So now I think what you see with bodybuilders is, they do eat to get bigger. You do have to go on what's called a surplus. You need more nutrition to make the muscle grow, but you still need to do it in a sustainable, lean way. It's not just like piling in the cakes and sugar and shit. Obviously they can do that to get surplus in, but I think it's more about like what we're going to talk about today. It's like more, it's really about sustainable eating. It's really just about eating good, clean foods and variety of foods as well. It's not just like going here or there. Like, you've got the carnivore, you've got the vegan, and you pescatarians.
They're all diets, but it's how you can align and stick to one for a long period of time,
and enjoy it.
That's
the main thing. Enjoy it. It's your food. Your eating shouldn't be your task. It shouldn't be a point where you're having to roll your eyes or go, oh God, the food again. It's a point where it's your food that's sustaining you for your training. That's training you for your life. It's making you feel good. It's making you get through your day well.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the points that we get onto in terms of kind of like making your own meals and making it, because you're just going to get a lot more out of the process if you're kind of enjoyment in a different phase, instead of being like, I have to shovel this in, you're feeling like crap. And so there's actually loads of like physiological but also psychological impacts of eating. But what we're going to go on today, like we did with the sleep, is kind of our top 5 habits that we really focused on, because you've done a lot more than I have.
Yeah,
We've both done like nutrition or diet templates, but we found they're just not sustainable. Not sustainable.
No, it's sustainable, and that's what we're going to talk about: sustainable eating. So I've done diets like the keto, and they do work really well. I got really, really lean. I felt really flat with it though, because obviously there was no carbohydrates. When I'd done my bodybuilding show, it was probably over 12 weeks to get me down, and each week it was just basically changing the carbohydrates, bringing them slowly down till, for some people it's literally nothing. For me, I was still on 100 grams of carbs a day. So I felt pretty good. A lot of other people don't get so great effects, but I just timed it all right and brought it down slowly. But again, that's not sustainable. And then when I did get down into that great shape, it's completely not sustainable for me. It's very to hold on to that condition. It'd just be mental torture in the long run. You could probably do it for a few months, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there go, it's easy. But for me, it was like, no, I enjoy my food, and getting down to that lean, I think I was down to about probably 7%. I'd say that is 7 or 6%. I think I'm not sure. I'll put a picture on you guys to see that I was fairly lean and
pretty damn fucking
really,
lean,
really dry. And I wish I could have looked like that forever, but it doesn't work that way, I'm afraid. As soon as you start eating on the rebound after that and loads of carbs, and then obviously because you're looking really lean, you can have all the treats in the world, and then it soon starts to catch back up after, and then all that weight's piled back on. And that's what we see when people hit intense diets that work. They do work, they get the look they want, so they tighten it all up and they get down and like if it's 12 weeks or 16 weeks, but then it slowly starts to fall apart after. And that's because the mental stress of doing that diet is just hard, and then they start to have a few drinks here again, the sugar comes back in,
get back into normal life.
But you're getting this false look, because you're looking in the mirror and you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm still great, and then I can eat this now and I'm going to stay like this, and then all of a sudden it just starts creeping on, and by that time it's creeping on, you're like mentally done, you're like, oh, I can't be bothered to go back to a diet, and then it just starts to pile back on.
It's just you're basically living in the peaks and the troughs, and that's ups and downs.
And that's it. So we could see all these diets. I've done diets before. It's like cut in a month, and you go really insanely into it. But then after that, it's only just going to come back on. So what we're trying to say, the longer process of sustainability for food and eating cleaner food and understanding your foods over the long run will give you the overall look for a longer stand, and you won't crash and burn after, shall we say?
Yeah, you won't be getting the drop off. And I think we should probably rename this like the sustainable podcast, or I don't know, something, because everything we're talking about is the long game and it is the long approach, but that's ultimately through history has proven that it works in any sense: training, nutrition, sleep, everything, just life.
Consistency.
Consistent. Life is pretty damn long, so you want to kind of...
If you're consistent in eating shit, you're going to be shit. If you're consistently eating good, you're going to be good.
You just come up with that now.
Yeah, just
straight off the top.
Straight out the top.
Yeah, so the first point is the sustainable eating habits, as we spoke about. And I think a big portion of this is, and the great thing about diets, and we're not completely, we're not trashing them, and not... because we've done them enough. But I think the main thing about them is they bring some notice and some education. Yeah. So I think education first is really key when creating more sustainable eating habits, and understanding that, eating a diet template that's like chicken, broccoli and rice 7 days a week isn't really that sustainable for a long duration. As we said, you can do it for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 8 if you're kind of like bland food, but trying to do that over a lifetime, you're just going to be boring.
It's very repetitive, miserable. Very the same, and then you just start to wander off. So, eating your food. So if we look at the basis meal plan of a day, you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, and then you have your dinner with the 3 main meals of the day. Obviously, there's ways. I always think, what's the saying? It's like, eat like a king for breakfast, is it?
Yeah.
And then eat like a... is it queen at lunch, and then eat like a pauper at night, so the meals get smaller. That's I know that's one way of good sustainability as long as the food's clean. Like I always set off my day with a good, strong breakfast. So my calories in my breakfast are always going to be around over 1,000 calories.
And that comes down to like education from what you've done. A lot of people, and I know there was a myth for so long, it was like basically don't eat breakfast. It's like don't eat breakfast and then don't eat carbs after like 5 p.m. It's like that, and that's like not trying to I probably went through the same knowledge, but it's just an education. It's not being directed in the right way in terms of dieting, listening to people that probably don't have any experience in dieting or nutritionists themselves. So, and that's what we're saying with sustainable eating habits. You've got to educate yourself first, because then from there you'll be able to make more informed choices. Because there's going to be times where even if you're the best meal prepper in the world, you're going to have to pick up food off the cuff. You're going to have to go into a supermarket, so you can make more informed choices. You want to go out for dinners. You don't want to be the boring person that brings out the scales and brings their own meal to a restaurant.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. What, have you ever been there?
I've obviously, when I was doing my bodybuilding dieting, I was going out with friends, and I wasn't able to eat a lot of the stuff there unless it was a nice bit of steak and veg or whatever. But I only looked at that. It was only a short period.
But that's
over the 12
informed.
weeks, I could do that.
That's still informed choices, right? Like you can make the right.
Depending if your outcome, like if you are a bodybuilder and your aim is to have a future and a career out of it, then hey, that's how it has to be. But if you're just looking at someone who's a gym goer and you just want to feel and look better, then it doesn't need to be that intense. It just needs to be a point where you are understanding your food and cleaning up your food. Like obviously we know with the calories, without going into a deficit of calories will let you lose weight. A maintenance, I think the maintenance doesn't get spoke about enough. Knowing your maintenance is where then you can then go up or down. I think what a lot of people do is, and I think the big problem I've seen when it comes down to nutrition is they don't know their maintenance, so they're up on a roller coaster of a ride with nutrition. So one day they could be on a super defect, the next day they've loaded in a few cakes and now they're on a massive surplus. And the body isn't adjusting to a daily intake of maintenance calories with their training. So it doesn't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden they go, I need to lose weight now, and they go into a heat deficit.
Like a bit in, you're going
too
into
much,
survival
too soon.
mode.
And they fucking struggle within 2-3 weeks, and before you know it, probably a few days, they're cheating again and having this and that, and they fall right off the wagon. So I think understanding before you do anything, before you want to go into building muscle or losing fat, I think you have to understand that maintenance is where to start, and being on that maintenance for I'd say a good few months.
If you hit that maintenance well, then
if you hit that maintenance well, you're probably going to see an increase in maybe a little bit of strength and fat burning, because your body's never been there before. So with the calories that you're using for your daily activities, your work, and just your daily life, understanding that by doing your TDE and working out a rough guide, they're never going to be pinpoint accurate, but they're going to be good enough for you to monitor.
And then you go back to the point of as you said, aligning it with your what you want out of it. If you want to build strength, find your maintenance, get into a little bit of a surplus. If you want to lose, and it's a little bit of we don't have all the science equipment, so it is a little bit of trial and error.
It is trial and error.
It's find the maintenance, drop maybe 100, 200
because then we bring
calories
into things in the equation like you could be carb sensitive. And that's a big part of your diet. Do carbs make you blow up, or do carbs not work? There are ways. Some people can be sustainable on just protein and fats. Yeah. Some people can't, and that is trial and error. That is understanding you. And then if you want to dive further into that, then that's when I'd say you do need help to get a nutritionist or a good coach who understands nutrition really well and help you put on the line. But otherwise, it's just a point of focusing on those 3 meals and cleaning those 3 meals up.
Yeah, I think you use the word cheat, and I know that comes from your bodybuilding days, right? And I think that inherently, cheat meal, you can call it whatever. A cheat meal is a great thing to call it, because it definitely gives that placebo effect of psychological, I feel good.
It's there's talks about it does work, it doesn't work. Again, that is dependent on the person.
Exactly.
So obviously, what would normally happen with a cheat meal, not a cheat day, is you would pick for what I was doing is either on the Saturday or on the Sunday, I would have already planned my cheat meal. And then I would leave it for later on in the day as well, because obviously if you do your cheat meal too early, you're then probably going to go overboard and it turns into a cheat day. So you want to make it sure that it's that time and you can stuff your face with a good, and still looking for a good nutritious, so still looking for that high intake of protein and carbs and fats, not just like, I know pizzas are good, but there's not a lot of protein quality on there.
The Rock's like quite well known for his cheat days.
Cheat meal's a cheat meal, and it's mainly for mental satisfaction. I think it's to give you that relief. Okay, I can have that. It's not going to go on. You wake up the next day feeling super tight and happy because you've had it. But again, once you start going over that, then you start to diminish your losses or your gains in your nutrition.
I think the difference is where the stage that you were at with your like cheat meals was to do with you were competing, you were aiming for something, whereas I think kind of looking at just a sustainable training and life, it's like there is really no inherently good or bad foods, and I think there's a lot of stigma that some certain foods get, and it's with everything. If you can create balance with it all, and knowledge about, as I said, informed choices, so when you do want the pizza, you can have the pizza and not feel like, shit, I need to go to the gym tomorrow and sit on the bike and burn thousands of calories. Like, the thing is, gaining the understanding of how to balance better through understanding your maintenance, through building some more knowledge and education with what you're eating.
Yeah.
Because now there is a lot more things coming out with regards to how salt's not the worst thing on the earth. How sugars actually could be.
Salt and sodium are a needed thing, and that's a big topic anyway. Like, it's needed. You can't just no salt. We need salt. It's, sodium and
it's in water. It's in everything. We're predominantly water.
It's very important, especially if you are highly active and sweating a lot. It's very important. Hydration and salts are and as we know, electrolytes are super important to keep you moving well and keep you that sustainability in your training. Because otherwise, if you're always in a dehydrated state and low salt, it's not a good place to be.
No, you start to your muscles go and contract as well. You start to cramp
Cramps,
up, and so I think it's like that first point is all about building education, knowledge, and we plan on getting kind of a range of different nutritionists in, because every nutritionist has their own little way that they particularly perceive it and look at it.
And if you haven't, I suppose if you're not going to go out and look for a nutritionist or someone in that field, and you do want to do it yourself, I'd say probably the best place to start for that would be, you can download MyFitnessPal app, which is a free app, and this is something I say, right, it's not something that I'd like to live by. Unless you like it, it's fine using it every day, but it's a great way of understanding your food and your calories. Then you can go onto the internet, type in TDE calculator. That will bring up, you fill in your age, your height, your activity, and then it will give you your maintenance, and then it will show you after that how to cut and how to do a surplus. That's probably the easiest way to start this on your own. So get your TDE calculator up on the internet, fill it all out. It's going to show you a maintenance of calories, and then it's going to show you on there as well, it will tell you about the proteins, what they weigh in calories, the carbohydrates and the fats. And then if you have MyFitnessPal, and if you go to just look to get 3 meals in and try and get those calories around those 3 meals, away you go. And you just look at good, easy, clean foods. And it can be flavorous. It doesn't have to be bland. It doesn't have to be boring. So we know we can look at potato, sweet potatoes, different grains of rices. We can go into this is a whole nother topic about the foods, but I have a white rice, so I have either jasmine or basmati because it's faster digesting and it's lighter on my stomach. I do like brown rice, but I found it's very heavy on my stomach, a little bit harder to digest. There's more nutrition in it, but like I say, the cost of that, it's harder to break down for me. Then you've got your eggs, and then you've got your clean meats. And I think when we talk about meats, it's right. It's where you get them from. I always say support your local farm. They're always going to be good, nutritious and clean. You know, we're lucky we've got Hedges Farm around the corner. Great. They've won awards for how well they look after animals. That's a good place to start with your meat. And then your vegetation as well. If you can grow some of your own, that's probably even better than getting off the mass markets. It's not the end of the world, but the nutritional value does go down from where they're more mass produced. And I think that's a great place to start without it getting too complicated. And if you don't be accountable for yourself, then you're probably always going to have that problem of falling off the wagon. There's no quick fix when it comes to nutrition. It takes time. Yeah,
and it takes constant little changes. One thing I've definitely seen that's help is like, if you do find that you're in a stage where you inherently go for like the bad foods and stuff, just remove the temptation. I love one of the best things is when people are like, I always end up eating chocolate. I'm like, remove it from the house. If you've got it in the house, it's going to be. You're going to go for it. You're going to eat it. So if it's
not in the house, then you can't have it.
And then the easiest way to do, like supermarket. I worked at a supermarket for a bit, and they're savvy fuckers.
Oh,
they're planned and shaped in a way that makes you go past all the things you don't want.
You always see the crap. You don't ever see the
cookies, the alcohol at the front. Then you have to, if you want to get alcohol, you have to go to the far corner of everyone, so you've passed everything. The middle's all the offers. Anyway, but yeah, if you best thing, eat before you go to the supermarket. Jeez,
don't go to the supermarket.
That is the worst thing you can ever do, and then that will help to remove the temptation of the things that you're struggling to kind of but reduce.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to be key. But I think you touched on kind of like second point in regards to cooking and like how you make your food. I think like one of the main things is making your own meals. Like, it sounds stupid. It sounds so like kind of almost childish, where it's like, just make your own food. But this is going to be, especially if you get the opportunity, and we have in lockdown, to make every meal fresh there. This is part and start of your digestive process.
It's as simple as this. I'm going to say this really quickly because this is how simple it is to set up a meal plan. Okay, you can do a batch cook in an hour, no problem. You turn the oven on, you get a hot saucepan out, you get some chicken breasts, you marinate them, throw them in the oven. They're cooking for 20, 30 minutes, done. In the pan, some ground beef, put whatever flavourings you want in that, cook that up. Rice pot cooker, fill it up with rice, cook it. Vegetables, steamer, done. Within that hour, they're all going to be cooked, and then that's it. You've got 2 of your daily meals. So you could have your chicken at lunch, and then you can have your ground beef at dinner. Breakfast, I always have I love porridge. I've always had porridge, and I love that because I can put so many flavourous stuff into my porridge. Honey, nuts, maca powder, you name it. You can go right into the health range there. And I always have eggs, so I like to have an omelette, or I have fried eggs, or I have scrambled eggs, whichever. And then you can have that with a bit of sourdough bread. Boom, 3 meals set, where you're going to get majority of those calories in. And then if you need a top up on your calories, then you can look at snacks. A snack could be anything from a protein bar to a bit of fruit to some yogurt, whatever. There, simple as that. And then you can change that order. You can bring some fish in your next batch cook. It's not hard. You just got to get into a process of cooking.
Yeah, and I think like that's the key thing. You like with all that, you know what you're putting into your body. Like, you can adjust it to your personal like taste, your personal preferences, your personal goals. If you aiming for a little bit more protein, you just adjust the quantities of meat or whatever you're going to use as your protein source. Same with carbs.
Or mainly, it's going to be the fats and the carbohydrates.
There you go.
Which is not a hard thing to chisel down.
Even if you don't want to start with like a big batch cook, it's like the classic thing is cook an extra meal in the evening. Like when you're making your dinner,
cook enough that there's enough for 3 people. Then you've got some to put on the side.
Or some to come back and eat later if it's that good. So I do most of the
cook
time.
more.
But and then you can have that for the next day's lunch. It doesn't need to be kind of like, you don't need to start off with batch cooking. If you can just start by making one extra meal at a time, you'll get into a routine and that you'll get into a rhythm, keep that consistent. But yeah, as you said, put an hour aside. It can be in the morning on a Sunday. Just get up, okay, I'm going to spend an hour, as you said, rice in a pot, chicken's marinated overnight, chuck it. It's just planning. It's just making a little bit of time for it.
Yeah.
You don't need to get super flamboyant, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember for, God, about 3 months, I just ate mince and rice, and it sounds boring as hell because I was trying to get bigger. But it worked, and that started the routine of me meal prepping. Now I can get more fancy and more excited with it because it's ingrained into my week. It's something I do. Mm-hmm. But making your own meals is going to be key because, as I said, if you know what you're getting in, and that is the most important thing.
You know what you're getting in, you know where you're getting it. But there are, if that still is a challenge, and you have the money, then you can use meal companies. You know, there are some really good ones out there now who can tailor your food to you. And you know, sometimes it's just the same as doing your weekly shopping. Obviously, if you've got a big family, it's a little bit different. But if you're on your own and you go, oh, I really struggle, then look for a good meal company and start getting that tailored to you and getting it done.
What did I see the other week? I saw a little, I don't know if it was a small documentary about a family that does all their meal prep for a month at once.
Wow.
And it's like they basically spend half a Sunday every month doing all their meals, put it in boxes, that's a little extreme, all right?
Yeah, see, I like my food a little bit fresher than that. So
no, a month old.
You know, if
beef.
when I do a bit of batch cooking, I probably cook for like 2-3 days, and then I do another one in the midweek.
But yeah, it's the start of your digestive process, and that's going to be key to absorbing nutrients and getting the maximum out of your food, as you said about quality, which we'll touch on at the end and how that plays a part in it. It's kind of easy, and nowadays, like, sit in front of your computer, hit a sandwich, or like you're on the go, shit, I need to grab something, and that goes back to point one. If you're on the go, you make more informed choices when you've got some more education and know what works for you.
I think as well, we see one of the perfect examples is this: most 9 to 5 people at work is they skip breakfast, they have a sandwich at lunch, and then they come home and have that big dinner that is probably not as nutritional value as it should be. And that is not a great way of eating, because that is one way of you putting on excess weight. You know, it's like a...
Yeah. And then you're not fueling yourself for, say, a training session. Your 5 o'clock is your training session. You're not fueling yourself for that. I know, like,
that's another topic, fueling for your...
Yeah. Food is a long-term investment, more than just the 24 hours of your day. However, it still has a big impact if you're not fueling yourself in the morning and the afternoon for your training session. But as you said, this is just about habits. We'll get onto like nutrition for performance. We'll get into some nutritionists from different areas of life in terms of boxers or kind of CrossFit athletes. But anyway, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, and these kind of all really link, and like the sleep is like a kind of a hierarchy. Like, build the education, get an understanding of sustainable eating habits, and then move on to that will help create more informed choices with making your meals. Like, cook. You can get so fancy with it or unfancy with it, but yeah, cooking's like it's basically what everyone should have been taught as a kid.
Well, yeah, cooking is an importance of life.
It's a life skill.
It's very easy now to, like you say, go on the go and get rubbish food, and easy, quick rubbish food to throw in the microwave, which, we do it. It's a fast way of eating, but it's not a great way of eating, because the microwave, I know it's a quick fix, but it does destroy food at the same time. It can take the nutrition value down. It's not the best way to eat. So cooking your own food fresh is way. So look at that. It's sustainable eating, and then making your own meals, and then moving into chewing your food.
Yeah, so once you've made your delicious meal, and I'm guilty of this, got an older brother, so it was probably not fighting for my food. We weren't like that bad, but it's like, I want to eat mine as quick as possible so you don't get any of it. That's the second part. You sit down, you put your bowl down, your plate down, and you got to take your time. As I said,
I'm a very fast eater, and when I learned about actually chewing my food, so what is it, like 30 chews?
Well, there's just to give, like people say like 30 to 40, just something. Basically, you want to You want to create the food into...
Well, it starts in your mouth, doesn't it? So soon as you smell food, that sets off your glands in your mouth, your saliva. Say, I know everyone's felt this, that build up of saliva in your mouth before you eat. And or
you've seen your dog.
Yeah, or your dog dribbling in front of you,
everywhere.
looking at your food. That is your digestion system turning on. That's where it all starts. So if you've got a nice big meal and you, like me, and you just wallop it down, you're chucking big hard blocks of food in the stomach, which are hard to break down. And I'm sure we all know about the sweet corn.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example to say of a good vegetable, good nutritious vegetable. But if you don't chew it, it doesn't break down, and you see it in the toilet the next day. So it really is that important that you liquidize your food in your mouth. You break it down so your digestion system has an easier time to absorb all the nutrition, because otherwise you're only going to have a small window of absorbing some of that nutrition for your food. So if you have weighed out and you know you've got your 30 grams of protein and your 40 grams of carbs and your 20 grams of fats on your meal, you're not absorbing all that because it's going into waste, because you've shoveled it down too quick. The digestion is under stress and it can't break it down quick enough. And then on top of that, you're chucking in half a litre of Coke or water or whatever, which just completely disrupts your digestion system. So chewing your food is very important, and it does make it almost like a meditated state, doesn't it? It slows it right down.
You're going to enjoy it as well more. So
enjoy it.
I think that's you kind of touched on it. You're making the great point was you're making your digestive system work harder. It is such an important role, and it is like anything. It's like a muscle. It contracts, it works. So if you're putting that under constant stress by not chewing, by not going through the slower process of eating, you're putting your digestive system under such stress that it's going to start creating inflammation. And we all know, like inflammation, like a muscle, you get sore, you get tight, you basically lose capacity for work. So then you're going to start digesting slower. Then your body's going to be focusing on trying to reduce the inflammation of the digestive system and not have as much focus on helping your muscles gain strength or repair from a heavy strength session. So it's all kind of like cyclical. It all ties into each other. So you can affect your recovery by basically eating really quickly and putting your digestive system under loads of stress. Mm-hmm. So I think having the time, and this links into like the fourth point, but just like slowing down and taking your time to chew it, and you're going to enjoy the taste more. That's the thing. You're going to actually sit there and
enjoy your food.
Yeah, enjoy your food rather than, as you said, just shoveling it in.
Yeah.
And then with the point of shoveling it in, there's a certain amount of time where it takes your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. It's like basically you got a window. If you ever watched Speed Eating, you ever watched Speed Eating?
Yeah.
It's like they're like
they just swallow it.
They just basically get it in as quick as possible, because there is like your brain and your stomach are not the best at communicating.
It's almost like MSG. MSG, as soon as you eat a bit of MSG, it basically shuts that off.
Yeah, you've got
so it doesn't tell you you're full, and I'm sure.
I can't remember the window.
I know, like if you've ever gone to some fast chain restaurants, and I know I do, especially I'm sure Nando's use it, because every time I go there, I never come out full.
This is because they give you fucking small portions.
Well, it's just the point. I just go in there, I'm hungry, and I'm hungrier when I come out, and that's when you know there's something not quite good in your food, and it's switching off that sort of like that digestive point where it's telling you to eat more. I know Chinese takeaways do it. That's where you get all you can eat buffets, and you can go in there and really.
Yeah, and that's why if you ever go to an all you can eat, they slow the process down, because it says here, I'm just going off like the first Google search I said, but it can take 20 minutes to feel full. When we start eating, there's a delay, a disconnection between the food you put in your mouth and the brain. So that's why if you ever go to an all-you-can-eat, they're so fucking slow with their service, because they're trying to play you. They don't want to give you as much food as possible.
Yeah,
that's why they're slow. So, and that's the thing. If you're trying to diet and you slow your eating down, you're going to create a point of satiety
where you
quicker.
Feel full
quicker, and then you also feel full longer, because you've actually given the body an opportunity to break things down. And as you said, there's a fancy word for it, the bioavailability of food is basically about how much you're absorbing. It says 50 grams of protein on the back of the packet, but whether you're absorbing
all that's another thing. How much are you wasting into your digestive system? And
as you said, like the corn.
And then normally a big part of that is, even with, you see a lot of people who eat really well, and they go, oh yeah, I've got bad farts today from all the greens, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably because that broccoli you've eaten, you've swallowed it, and now that hard stem is in there really struggling to digest, which will give you more wind and stuff like that. So it really, chewing in your food is quite important. And it
sounds boring.
It is boring, especially if you've got a lovely meal and you're like, fuck it, you want to shovel it down like I do. Just go Five Guys. I see that burger disappear in like 2 seconds. But if you do slow it down, you will feel more full, and that ties into later on, and that stops the cravings overall later on.
And there's a time and place for that. Obviously, if you are trying to lose weight and find that steady maintenance, taking your time. If you are trying to be a bodybuilder and you just have to get in the mass, you're gonna just have to shovel it in, because you're gonna get to the end of 100 grams of carb meal with mince and
that's when it does. If you're on a surplus and you're eating more food, trying to eat that slowly is probably going to be pretty torturous.
That goes back to the goal, right?
But that goes back to the goal, and it depends on you. Like, I think here we're mainly looking at the general people who are just looking to be fit and healthy with a little bit of training to support their lifestyles and do better in their lifestyles. Obviously, specific training, more competitive and stuff like that, that's when this stuff gets more serious, and you have to follow the macros and stuff like that. We're looking just to give you tips on, like with the sleep that we've done, just basic things that you can put into place straight away that will make your days better, that will give you change. You will see results, and it will start the process off, and it's long term. It's over a long term change.
And then you'll see these things will definitely have other impacts. If you're sitting down, and when we go into point 4 about removing stimulants, but if you're sitting down at a table and you're chewing your food, you're giving yourself more of an opportunity to have a conversation with your wife or your husband or someone there.
And if you're talking, then I know don't talk with your mouth full, but hey, you're chewing that food longer.
You're putting your foot down, you're having a conversation, and then maybe you might learn something about the other half day instead of sitting in front of the TV.
I always sit down when I cook food at home. I always sit down with my oldest, and we try and spark some conversations, but the main thing is we've got no iPhones, we've got no TVs, it's just us and this food at the table.
Point 4.
And he eats quite quick like me as well, but we eat slower when we're there talking to each other. It slows the process down and you absorb the food better, so it does work. Perfect. It does.
That point 4 perfectly is like removing stimulants, as you said. Phones, I kind of started to make a rule a couple of years ago about no phones at the table, and when my brother comes around for Sunday roast, if he ever listens to this, and he gets his phone out, he knows I'm trying to punch him across the table.
It's just rude now, isn't it? It's rude. Like, if you're sitting there with someone at the table and they're getting their phone out, you're like, hey, do you not like me?
You might as well just go in the other room and sit down and watch TV.
So it's a good thing to do.
But that's going to also affect. You're not going to be focused on the meal, and if you're going through all these steps, you're making a lovely meal. You wouldn't go to a Michelin-style restaurant and be like, do you mind putting on the TV and just kind of sitting there and eating this incredible food?
Enjoy your food.
Enjoy your food. It will allow you to slow down. You won't be in and it goes back to the sleep, that sympathetic, parasympathetic, it's you've got your fight or flight and you've got your rest and digest. It's like rest and digest for a reason. It's like that relaxed state. You're not putting load and stress through your body, and you're being able to sit down and absorb. Goes back to that bioavailability. You're going to absorb the majority of the nutrients instead of breaking them down as little as possible and passing them through.
Yeah.
All right. And I know, you probably, as you said, realise the same with eating habit, how quickly you eat, with regards to if you're watching TV or not. We're not saying a pint of Ben and Jerry's in front of the TV is not a bad thing.
I was quite shocked by the outcome of me just slowing and chewing my food. The next day, how much fuller I felt and how much harder my muscle felt, because I absorbed a lot more of that food.
And your bowel movement's a lot more comfortable.
A lot more comfortable. So it's definitely worth looking into and doing. And then we can top back into now the food, the quality of your food. This is the big one. Like, we can get poor quality of foods that still look healthy, but it's still pretty poor.
Well, I love the analogy of like if you ever get you said Hedges Farm, like from your recommendations,
support your local farm,
start
man.
going there.
Honestly,
two different
or
things.
your local butcher, shall I
Yeah,
say? A trade we're seeing die.
Thankfully, in areas of like in London that have been around, it's definitely popping back up. It's seen as like quite a niche thing, and it started to die off.
And they do good deals as well.
It's not that much more expensive. Like, but I use the thing like I go to Hedges, buy their bacon. Unbelievable, completely changed. But you cook like the bacon from Sainsbury's, and you get the pan full of like that white water, and it's all shrunk and it's shriveled into something that's a third of the size. You buy bacon from like the farm or a butcher's, and you know it's good quality when you don't get as much. You don't get as much of that.
No,
you don't get as much of that water come out, and it stays bigger. And oh man, it's just good. And yeah, and that goes back to the quality. It's going to be higher nutrient dense, as you said. It won't last as long in the fridge, but that shows that it's like there's another analogy to do with where you shop. Always shop in the edges of the supermarkets. That's where you're going to get the fresh food,
the fresh stuff. Yeah.
The thing that doesn't if it doesn't last that long, it's natural.
It's natural.
If it can sit in a tin for 10 years.
Listen, I know that sometimes you still have to go Sainsbury's and stuff like that and get your fruit and veg. But then sometimes I notice, oh God, these blueberries. I look at them and I go, oh my God, they're like 2 weeks past the sell-by date and they still look fine.
Yeah, there's that
What's
thing
going on with that blueberry?
Just injected with something. But there's that thing with the McDonald's burgers. Have you ever seen that? It's like a time lapse of the burger.
Well, not even that. I remember hearing a story. There was a guy who's obviously out drunk, went to McDonald's, put a cheeseburger in his coat, put his coat in his wardrobe when he got home drunk. Forgot about his cheeseburger.
How can you forget about your cheeseburger?
Didn't wear the coat for about a year. Went and got the coat, found the cheeseburger, opened it, and it was still. Well, it looked old, but it was still there.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah, you'd have thought that. You leave and that's one of the big things. You'll see a difference in how it decomposes quicker if it's fresh, if it's pumped full of shit.
And then we can look at, like obviously organic is a nicer way to eat, but then obviously we see organic prices and they're fucking through the roof. But it's a point of trying to eat good qualities, trying to eat the best food that you can.
And if you
on
really
the long term,
if you do really care about, like, I know like the big thing now is changing to like vegetarian or vegan for a sustainable option. You buy good quality meat from a farm, it's going to be more sustainable than buying something from the supermarket. You buy good quality fruit and veg from your greengrocer, it's more sustainable instead of chucking all these chemicals into the ground and absorbing like the nutrients. And basically, a lot of the nutrients in the veg comes from the soil. If you've got shit quality soil because it's over farmed and it goes to the supermarket, then it goes into you. So it's like
it's where we're seeing now anyway. If we look at all the vegan stuff, it's all processed now. Where we've been told, right, don't have processed foods because it's full of shit. And now we're seeing a lot of the vegan market with these wannabe burgers, wannabe sausages. It's
just all minced shit.
Processed crap. So I'm gonna obviously to all you vegan people, I don't agree with it. Let's just put it that way.
That's a nice way to fucking
just
put
it.
it
That way. Yeah. Don't agree with it.
Hey, look, everyone's got their own opinion on what
I shouldn't say that. I do agree with the animal cruelty. I do understand that, and I am a hypocrite because I eat meat. But hey, I need the meat.
You go to a farm and
that's why I go to a farm where the meat's been treated very, very well.
Yeah, you hope that it's. You hope that it's been treated in a better, and you can tell that because the Wagyu beef, right? It's like massage, it's very relaxed. You can tell the different quality of meat by the stress the animal's under. If the animal's highly stressed, like we know, the muscles are tense, you're tight, you don't want to. Whereas if you're more relaxed,
I don't know if you've ever had sometimes where I've got chicken from a supermarket or whatever, and you've cooked it and it's like tough.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that chicken where
you just overcooked it, right?
Is that what it is?
No, but it is. It's just like however you cook it.
Yeah, like
it's just tough.
It's like rubbery, and I'm like, I've cooked.
Stress.
And that's when you know that's probably not a great piece of meat. So definitely quality foods.
You can see that in the eggs as well, like.
Oh yeah, if you get a farm egg, look at the difference of the yolk.
Colour. This is all going to improve the flavour, as we said. It's not just about nutrient density. It's not about reducing the toxicity of what they're getting in through like poor farming or over farming.
Yeah.
You're actually going to increase the flavour, and then it's going to make you want to be like, actually, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to enjoy this piece of meat, or I'm going to enjoy this veg a little bit more because it just tastes fucking good. We spend the majority of our time sleeping and eating, so you might as well make both of them fucking great.
And you know what? It does make it a little bit more time consuming, meaning you maybe do have to travel a little bit further or whatever to
Spend
go.
a little bit more.
It's not as easy as popping into your local supermarket, but the reward out of that is going to be so much more. So if you can just practice putting that time in and going to get some quality food and prepping that food, it's going to have a better impact on your life than just cutting the shortcuts. Like, look, if you're at home and you're sitting watching a box set of Netflix, I look at that and go, you could be cooking, you could be doing something else to, and I'm corporate of it. We all slip into bad pathways of food, but once you get yourself into a good pathway of doing everything that with these habits that we're saying today, you will start to see a better outcome, and then you're more likely want to stay like that, especially if your training's important to you and how you look is important to you, and you want to get out of that rut of feeling down and crap. Food can make you feel that down and crap. It's emotional eating.
But the other side of that is the emotional eating when like shit's aligned, when things taste good and when things are
feel good.
Like, wow, I feel a lot better. That meal was great.
One thing I always found that when I did start eating well, I'll go back to the bodybuilding, after 3 weeks when I started to see the change, that started to give me the enthusiasm to go, right, I need to stick to this, stick to this. And then obviously the better looking I got, the harder I worked and the more I wanted to do it, and it got easier as it went along. So it really is a point of just getting yourself into good habits and getting on with it, and just starting to cut some of that stuff out. Like you say, when you go to the supermarket, don't buy the biscuits in the house, then you won't have them. Then you'll do what I do, you'll just go up and look in the fridge 10-20 times expecting it to be there, but it's not there. I still do that now. I go to the fridge, open it, stare at it, think, right, I've just monitored this, and right, nothing there. Go back, come back. And
then if you do eat something that you see as inherently bad, like biscuits or chocolate or whatever, it's not bad. It's just balance, and we're not saying, oh yeah, you got to stick to this, as we said at the beginning. You must
not have that. If it, you can fit a digestive biscuit into your macros.
You can fit a pint of Ben and Jerry's into your macros.
Yeah, that's it. Just starve yourself for the day. And eat Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, exactly.
No way, you've not gone over your calories. But there's loads of different ways to go through this nutrition. We're just starting off. We're going to do many other episodes on this. So we've got gut health, we've got food for energy, there's so many ways out that can help this. But this is just a good starting point where to get you going and get you into a good habit of eating and manage and understand the process of your digestion system, get it to work, get it to absorb, and feel better within your days.
And if you hit all 5 of these and you're like the perfect human, then shit, I don't know what else to tell you. But yeah, actually, here's another thing: seasonal. Just before we go off, quality of food, but also seasonal. Yeah, so if you're like, okay, I hit quality, I'm sitting down, I'm making all my meals, I'm nailed. Hit something that's seasonal. Everything flies across the world now. But there's always seasons for strawberries and blueberries.
Oh yeah,
but we can get them in the supermarket in the middle
all
of the
year
winter.
Round. Yeah,
but it's like try and look. Yeah, in the winter you're gonna have more sweets. You're gonna have more butternut squashes. You're gonna have more of that root veg and change it.
And of course, that's something else we've not really touched today. That gives you variance of your food. Changing your food. Just going on quickly is important. So if you eat chicken and beef every day, it's good to variate your meal as well. So then move to a bit of fish and something else. So always changing your meats, maybe a bit of turkey. So variance, and then definitely with, like you say, they're perfect. Seasonal vegetables, vary that. So you can, if you get into that, and then your meals change, and it's always creating change, and you're gonna feel better.
You're not gonna stagnate.
Yeah, it's not like eating chicken and broccoli, and then you just,
just miserable existence.
Miserable. Make your eating excitable. It's definitely one way of doing it, and feeling good with it. So I think we've hit quite a lot there today, just
Yeah.
to get the nutrition rolling.
As I said, we'll get some people on some different opinions from
Yeah.
nutritionists, because as I said, we're not fully nutritionists. This is just stuff that we've learned over the years.
This is just basics.
Practice, trial and error, as we
Yeah,
touched on at the
basics,
beginning.
trial and error. We're trying to lay a little basic table for you to start with. Obviously, one thing that I'm big into and learning more about is obviously gut health.
Yeah.
That's a big part, and that can tie into a lot of problems with inflammation and how you feel, and obviously setting up your digestion system again. But
We'll do a gut health podcast.
We'll do a
down
gut
the
health
line.
podcast on that. But our next episode, we've got our second guest. We've got an actor coming in, Josh Myers.
It's a very
It's a good one. And our topic on that is going to be going over mental health awareness and just everything to do with the struggle it's been over the last year, and how the increase of mental health is really on a high for everybody.
how
So
training has definitely helped.
going to give you our thoughts on that, and hopefully it's a cracker.
Josh got such a cool story.
He's
I
a
was
great guy.
blown away by it.
He's a great guy, and if you don't know who he is, if you've seen any of the Rise of the Foot Soldier films, you've probably noticed him. He plays a character called Kenny, and he's done some other films, and it's a real great episode. So definitely try and tune in for that. You can catch us on all the platforms, so YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, I would suggest, if you want to see some good faces, tune into YouTube. But otherwise, if you're out walking and the others are better, whatever you can, please take a listen. Push a like and subscribe on the button so we know that you guys are enjoying.
Share this shit.
Yeah, leave some comments as well, message, or reach out if you want to know anything else. Stay tuned to the Infamous Performance podcast on Instagram, because we are going to start doing a lot of follow-ups to these podcasts. So there'll be more notes on there. I may even do a day in the life of a food prep, just to give you a guide on this. Just a quick fix in my kitchen on how to do it all in an hour and get a good.
You can do the hour food prep.
It won't be an hour video, but I'll break it down and just show you what a simple food prep and a day of good eating looks like for me. It's something that I need to tap back into. Over the last year, my nutrition did fall apart, and for many reasons there that I'm not going to go diverging into. But it is tough to get on track. But when you do get on track with the nutrition, you're going to feel great.
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, guys. So leave it there.